Awesome. All right, so we have some attendees here now, so we can get going. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this session. We have Andrea here, who's going to be talking about transforming employees into gladiators with employee experience and technology. Before we jump into the introduction, we'll give a few housekeeping rules. There's a chat you're going to see on the side, so please use that to share your ideas. There's a Q&A section as well too, so type in any questions there. We'll be moderating them during the session, and then at the end we'll allow 10 minutes for everyone to ask these questions. So there'll be a 10-minute moderated Q&A, so we're going to take the sessions from there. There's an attendee invite option as well too, so if you have a burning question that you're like, I want to talk to Andrea, I want to get on stage, I want some FaceTime with her, we can orchestrate that as well too, and your face will show up just like ours is. Please be respectful with your questions as well too, that goes without saying. And if anyone's active during this on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, whatever it may be, please use the hashtag SHRC21 in your posts. So we're going to jump into the introduction. This is Andrea. She is the Director of Human Resources at Fonolo, a Canadian cloud-based callback solutions company. She spent the first half of her career in sales management, where customer experience was a top priority and had a direct impact on company success. In 2012, she pivoted her career and moved into human resources space and was immediately fascinated by the missed opportunity of HR to see the employees as they supported as their customers. And the value of applying a customer experience approach to the practice of HR. Since then, Andrea has taken this a step further by advocating for companies to apply a human-centric approach to HR, one that sees the employee as a whole person, a human being with motivations, with needs and desires that are not left at the door when they enter the workplace. Andrea's HR practice is focused on transforming organizations into employers of choice and employees into brand ambassadors through well-informed and thoughtful HR practices and programs. In other words, Andrea is on a mission to put the human back in human resources. So I'm going to flip it back over to you, and everyone's in for a really big treat.
Thank you so much, Katya, for that lovely introduction. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. SocialHRCamp has consistently always provided me with amazing events to attend that are engaging, where I learn a lot. So it's really awesome to be at this side of the stage. And thank you to each of you for attending today's session, setting that time aside. I hope you are ready for a treat. As Katya shared, employee experience is the area of HR that fascinates me the most, and that's primarily because of my experience in customer-facing roles in the past. And what I find interesting is that employee experience is something that is talked about as though it's something new, but it isn't, because it's literally existed since the concept of an employee has existed. And the difference, I think, is that now more and more organizations are considering how their policies, their processes, and the ways that they do things actually impact their employees and the employees' experience of their company, their organizations. So in the past, I would say employee experience kind of happened by default, and now it's more of an intentional practice. And so today we're talking about transforming employees into gladiators with employee experience and tech. We'll explore employee experience. We'll talk about the benefits of an intentional and well-designed program. We'll talk about the role of technology. And in the first half, we will set a foundation. And in the second half, I have a case study of sorts for you, so we'll get into that. So why? Why is employee experience even important? And it's because people are human beings and they always remember how you make them feel in every interaction. Fortunately and unfortunately, employees spend a lot of time interacting with their organization. And what that means is that there are a ton of small interactions that occur that kind of pivot the employees' feelings, either in a positive way or a negative way. So that is important to note. Employee experience affects engagement, and it affects recruitment, it affects retention, and it affects the bottom line of your company. In fact, MIT research shows that enterprises with top quartile employee experience achieve twice the innovation, double the customer satisfaction, 25% higher profits than organizations with a bottom quartile employee experience. In the tech space where I spend all of my HR time, employees actually demand a great employee experience. It's not something that we can not pay attention to. It's not a nice to have. It is definitely a necessity. And so you may have been wondering, what is a gladiator, and how does it actually apply to employee experience, and how are they connected? And before I answer that question, I'm actually going to throw it to you. So when you hear the word gladiator, what are the images, what are the qualities that come to mind for you? I'm going to put up a poll, and then you'll get an opportunity to actually kind of like answer the question. And actually, no, let's put this into the chat. I think that would be more interesting to see what people think a gladiator has. Okay, so I'm seeing strength, power, warrior, fighter, armored, Russell Crowe. Thank you for that. The movie 3000, yes, absolutely, powerful. Absolutely, okay. And I'll add a bit more to that as well. But those are all really great. Oh, they're coming. Fighter, fearless, prepared. All great, great suggestions. Okay, so the answer I have for you is that gladiators are energized, they are engaged, they are committed to the cause. They are all in, they give 100%. And they arrive each day ready to take on any small or large battles and challenges of the day. So if you as a company are looking for people who do great work and look for additional ways to contribute to the company and to their teams, if you're looking for people who are committed to your organization, its objectives, and who see the organization's success as their success, people who serve customers in a way that leaves customers feeling valued and cared for. And if you're looking for people who speak up, voice their ideas and solutions and innovations, and for improvements, then I would like to say that you are actually not looking for an employee in the traditional sense that is transactional, but you're looking for a gladiator. Okay, so I have a poll here for you, another poll, and the question is going to be, showing up for you now. So, what is employee experience? Is it the journey an employee takes with your organization? Is it the way in which employees internalize and interpret the interactions they have with the organization? Or is it what people encounter and observe over the course of their tenure at an organization? Or is it all of the above? Okay, I'm seeing the votes coming in. Okay, interesting. Okay. Okay, so the answer is employee experience is all of the touch points an employee has with an organization and the feelings that these interactions elicit. So if you answered, which 92% of you answered all of the above, you would be entirely correct. So well done on that. And then I have a second poll for you here as well, and I will publish that in a few seconds, just to see where we're all sitting. and it should be up for you now. Okay, so employee experience and culture are one and the same thing. Is this true or is it false? Okay, seeing some responses coming through. Okay, interesting. Okay, keep on going. Okay, interesting. So, oh, there's still some votes coming in. I'll wait a few more seconds until you've all had an opportunity to give it some thought. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you answered, so let's look at results first. There are 11% of you saying that this is true and 88.24% of you said that this is false. And if you answered that organizational culture and employee experience are not the same, then you would be correct, because organizational culture is the set of values, behaviors, and tools that provide structure, while employee experience is what is happening at the intersection of individual personality and the organizational culture. So they are definitely related, but they're not the same. One feeds into the next. And organizations themselves, they do have internal and external customers. Organizations are it's easy to see and identify and focus on our external customers because there's a clear transaction between the exchange of money for product and service. But an organization also has its internal customers, and these are the employees who choose to buy in to the organization's mission, vision, and values day after day. So employee experience and customer experience are similar, but they're not identical. That being said, there are some key takeaways, so it's important to also look at that. And in some ways, I actually think that employee experience is actually a bit more challenging than customer experience. And the reason I say this is because the nature of the relationship is very different. With the employee experience, the relationship is continuous, it is enduring, and it is personal. I would say that the stakes are also much higher because the employee's experience of the organization's programs, policies, practices directly impact the employee themselves, their livelihood, their family, so the people they care about the most, and their future. And employees actually have very high expectations of the companies that they work with. They want more than a transaction, especially in the tech space in which I work, where there's a very high demand for amazing talent and amazing people on a continual basis. It never actually really does end. Okay, so although they are different, there are some key takeaways. And what I would say is that I pay attention to the concept of experience journey mapping to personas and the desire to maximize opportunities for delight and to minimize pain points for the customers. So we can apply that to the employee as well. And when I talk about personas, we're looking at the applicant, the candidate, the employee, the alumni, and also the new hires. So there are key personas that experience the company in different ways, and these are the ones that are very important to look at when it comes to designing an employee experience program. And so technology is a very general term. It can apply to something as simple as a wooden spoon, and it can apply to something as complex as a space station. So in this session, when we talk about information about technology, we're actually talking about information technology. And so it's important to remember that technology is a tool. It's not actually the employee experience itself or the initiatives. And technology's role is that of facilitating communication, connection, collaboration, data management, optimizing employee experience, delivering consistent experiences, and one of my personal favorites, which would be listening and gathering information so that we can use these to inform initiatives. I always say it's much better to ask people what they're looking for and how things impact them than to sit in my kind of like office space and kind of try to imagine what that would be. So now that we've covered all of some ideas of employee experience, its value, the role of tech, and the fact that tech has a role to play, but it's not it in itself, employee experience, let's dive into the case study. So we're going to have a fictional company responding to an environmental change. We'll use employee personas. We'll identify possible solutions to address employee challenges as well. So we have a company called the Cool Canadian Company. I know it's very creative, but it's actually a combination of features of companies I have worked at personally and had insight into. So CCC is a privately owned company. It's Canadian. It's doing meaningful work in the healthcare space. It has 50 employees and they're growing rapidly. They pride themselves on employee experience designed for applicants, candidates, and new hires, and alumni and employees. They've seen the value of these programs, and the employees are energized, they're engaged, they're committed, and they are actually gladiators. And CCC's people, so CCC prides itself on bringing people together who are great and they do impactful work and providing them with ample opportunities to connect with each other at company events. They also have an open door policy. And from a brand perspective, CCC has been made from the recruitment perspective with a strong and positive employer brand. Their employees, the impact of their products, their initiatives from an employee experience perspective are actually all key attributes that differentiate CCC from other companies. Candidates walk in, they fall in love with the company, they're ready to sign on the dotted line, and they've enjoyed the benefits of that. However, in 2020, CCC faced an unprecedented change that was very unexpected. It was COVID-19. They were monitoring the situation. They decided to work remotely. Fortunately, everyone's equipped from a technological standpoint. However, all the benefits CCC has enjoyed over time from working together in an on-site space have essentially disappeared overnight. They are proactive, so the HR team, which you are all a part of, has been asked to anticipate possible challenges to employee experience and then identify solutions for them. The first one that we've identified as a group is an effect on the candidate experience. So we want to be aware that the challenge is how can CCC virtualize its recruitment process without losing its top-notch candidate experience? We want it to actually be an experience where candidates have a consistent and strong sense of CCC, its people, its culture, its products, and how the candidate themselves fit in. Possible solutions to this, and you are more than welcome to also add some ideas into the chat area, would be to virtualize interviews as opposed to having them on the phone, and also to incorporate CCC champions, so those employees who live the culture and the values of the company, allow them to meet with candidates so that candidates can get the feel of the company. The second option that you could possibly do to incorporate tech would be to create a Life at CCC website where we share the company insights, employee and executive profiles, possibly also interviews, information on the company offerings, current and updated happenings that are happening at the company as well. Okay. And I'm wondering if anyone has anything that they would actually add or that they've experienced themselves that would address this challenge that CCC is experiencing. Okay, let's move on to another challenge that we as a team has identified. And it's a challenge that's going to affect the new hire experience. So as new hires are no longer starting, at the office where they get this amazing experience that's curated for them, the question now is, how do we deliver an onboarding experience that alleviates the anxiety of starting a new job, because that is stressful, it's change, minimizes paperwork, because no one loves paperwork, and it celebrates the employee joining the company. The desired experience that we want them to have is for new hires to experience an enjoyable, simple, hassle-free onboarding experience that makes them feel welcomed and taken care of from day one, and continues to feel that they've had the reason why they've signed on with us to begin with. Possible solutions I have identified here would be to introduce an onboarding platform. Yes, I love that. Thank you, Jacqueline. Social buddy in the office that helps to introduce them to the team. And we can definitely do that virtually. It doesn't have to be gone because we're no longer in an office anymore at CCC. Another thing we can also do is we can digitize all paperwork, make them fillable, make them signable. With working remotely, not everyone has the technology. We can't go over to Staples and have something signed and scanned. So helping new hires to be able to actually sign and get through their paperwork in the comfort of their homes is actually of value to them. And the third thing as a team that we have identified is to identify points in the pre-start period to celebrate, communicate, and delight all new hires. So this can be anything from, sending packages over to them, keeping them engaged, introducing them to the team early on, so that when they arrive on their very first day, it's not a shock. They're already very familiar with the people, with the processes, and with the feel of the company. And the third challenge that we have identified as a team has been one that impacts the actual employees of our company. So the question is, how can CCC continue to offer the celebration and connection opportunities that employees have always enjoyed in the new remote work setting? What we would like is for employees to continue to connect and deepen their relationships, because it's the foundation of the company that we have, and for employees to continue to feel appreciated and recognized here. And for, on my end, some things I've identified that can be facilitated by technology would be to virtualize acknowledgement of employee celebrations and milestones. These could be done in person in the past, but because we're virtual, it doesn't mean that they cannot be done virtually. This can be, having e-cards sent to employees, having virtual celebrations, acknowledging them in company meetings virtually. Another thing we can do is to plan a variety of virtual events, so team events, company events, one-on-one events, to cater to employee interests. We can also have employees who initiate different events that they are all interested in, so that they can find mutual groups that they can connect with virtually. Something else that we can do is to send out surprise deliveries, virtual or shipped, to employees. Everyone loves a great surprise, and that's something that could possibly be done to remind and also to replicate the experience that employees may have had in person in the company. And does anyone have anything here? Oh, before you apply. So Kara is saying, I've liked what Before You Apply has been doing, shooting short videos of the hiring team they have interviewed with and providing open honest answers so that candidates can get a sense of the team, the culture, and in an authentic way. That's amazing. I love that. Thank you, Kara. Tracy is saying, highlight them on Instagram, company sites, so that they can share with friends. That's amazing. And that also helps to build the employer brand as well. So we're celebrating, they're celebrating, and the brand is being built. Amazing. So I'm curious, has anyone had any, with us all essentially working virtually, what have your experiences been? Have you seen these challenges? The reason I chose this as a case study was because we had a company that has it made, where a lot of their pros are happening because of those in-person connections with their team, and they've essentially been plucked up and dropped into an entirely different situation, and having to keep those going. So sometimes when you don't have these programs, it can be easier because the expectations are different. But when you have programs like this, and when employees are used to a particular feeling and a particular experience, you want to continue those. Jacqueline says, we are experiencing exactly these challenges. Yes, not really sure what industry you're working in, Jacqueline, but I think for myself and for a lot of the people I'm connected to who are in the tech space, where we had these amazing experience programs for teams working remotely, the challenge wasn't really the tech stack or the tools, it was really how do we continue to keep employees connected and have them have that sense of connection with their team and with their managers. Awesome. Anyone experiencing any different challenges that maybe tech can kind of assist with or address that we can touch on as a group? Maybe get the rest of our team here to provide some insight for you. We have so Jacqueline saying, we have all staff meetings every week. At the end of them, we do random breakout rooms for people to connect with people they might not otherwise see. I love that. And there's actually, I know Slack has an integrated app that is called Donut that allows you to have employees randomly meet other employees that they may not necessarily speak to, and build those relationships. Because at the end of the day, it's all about relationships. When there are strong relationships existing, then it is easy to navigate and resolve conflicts when they arise, whether they're internal or external. And then you work closer as well too, and you have more fun. So, okay. Thank you, Tamara. So honestly, I do think at the end of the day, it's all about relationships because we're all people. That we know for sure, we're all human beings. And whenever a human being interacts with another one, it is a relationship, it is an interaction, it creates an experience, elicits feelings, whether they're positive, negative, or kind of in between. So if we were to think of whether it's the employees we interact with or the people we interact with outside of work, if we always come at it from the point of view of a relationship, whether the relationship is a long one, a short one, I think it can only really create win-win-win situations where we're all just enjoying and winning. Sarah, so we're rolling out new tech-based onboarding platform called Workday. Some are familiar with that? Yes, I am. Some people are nervous about how tech will replace their jobs. Any advice on how to navigate employee experience throughout this? Okay, so with regards to any change that would have an impact on employees, I always love to involve the people who are experiencing this from the very beginning. So involve them in the processes. It doesn't have to be everyone. It can be a focus group as well. But get everyone involved. Get people involved so that you can identify possible blocks, apply the solves to them, and have a smoother rollout. I'm not sure if you had involved anyone from the employee standpoint when you were selecting the platform Workday, but for example, we also rolled out a platform. We used Bamboo because they have a very strong focus on onboarding as well. And the things that worked for us were involving employees in the process of selection, understanding what they would like to see and what they would benefit from the new software, the new tech. And really trying to select a solution that meets those. And even if it doesn't meet all of the things that they wanted, at least they had the feeling of being involved in something that affected them. And if there was something that they really, really wanted, but it wasn't selected, at least they can understand insight into why it wasn't. And I see that Kata has popped up on my screen. So she's essentially saying to me that we have about 3 more minutes to go. Sarah, if you, I would love to delve into this a bit further, but so you can always reach out to me and I would be more than happy to kind of like delve into it a bit further with you, do some brainstorming, etc. Okay, so if anything you take away from the session, I really hope that you always have it in the back of your mind that people always remember how you make them feel. So all your programs, processes, the way that you do business, your systems in the company, always think about how does this thing, this item make a person feel? What is their interaction with it like? What is the experience of it like? Are there any hurdles that you can remove? Is it frustrating or is it enjoyable? If they were a customer, would they come back to you? Just always think about that. And Kata, I'll pass it over to you now since you are.
No, awesome. This is really good. We actually have a few more minutes, about 5 more minutes as well too, so we can keep going with the questions. Selfishly, I have my own questions for you. So this presentation was really good and very informative. I think we've all dealt with it. Some of the things we've done at our company when we are trying to onboard new employees during this time where everyone's virtual is we'll set up random coffee chats with people, like virtual coffee chats. So we'll choose a few people from their team that they work with directly, and then some other people from the company that could be like culture ambassadors to kind of help them get a feel for it and ease in. We found that's been super helpful. But one of my questions for you is, obviously, there's a cost associated with technology and employee programs. So being on the HR team, like how do I go about getting buy-in and support from senior leadership?
I think that if we were looking at this question, maybe 10 years ago, it was definitely more challenging to get buy-in. Even in let's say 2019, there was and there have been a lot of research into the value that employee experience and its initiatives and its programs provide to a company, and how it actually does affect the bottom line, and how it affects retention, how it affects whether you can even get the people that you want to hire. Do they want to join your company? What are the reviews online about your company saying? And what are people who have left your company, your alumni, saying? How are people connected? Everyone's connected now on LinkedIn. So I think now, especially also thinking about the past year and how all companies were challenged with keeping employees engaged, keeping them healthy, keeping them having a high sense of well-being. I think it speaks for itself. If you have a team that is essentially still not wanting to invest, and there are different levels of investment. You know, you can, in a smaller company, you can use Excel, you can use like no-cost platforms. You don't have to spend a lot of money. But if you have a team that is, with all of this, actually still pushing against employee experience initiatives, I think it's a bit more than seeing the value. There's something else happening there that you may want to put this aside and delve into, and then get back to the conversation of employee experience.
Amazing. Okay, cool. So I think a lot of probably the participants here and throughout this conference are probably working with companies that are scaling, maybe growing, and having a very small HR team. So your team of one trying to focus on, wait, do I recruit? Do I work on benefits? What do I do? So with that being said, what would you recommend as like a very valuable first step in creating an employee experience company or employee experience program for your company?
Okay. So, I mean, I've been in this situation as well. Like my current company is just under 20 employees. My company before that was around 40 employees, and the one before that was 200. So I have worked with companies in software, like they tend to have the startup feel, and they're growing very rapidly. So this is kind of like my jam. This is a space I'm very familiar with. And I would say that instead of immediately thinking about what tech do I need, think about what experience do I want to create, what is the intention of this program, and the rest can flow from there. There are, as I said, a ton of amazing platforms out there. Some are at cost, some do cost money, some cost a lot of money, some are a bit more cost efficient, right? As I just said before, like, you know, there's Excel, there are free chat apps. There are, like we're living in a world, thankfully, where tech is all around us. It's pervasive. So where there's a will, there is a way. But I would always say, instead of depending on tech and thinking to yourself that, you know, I am only a one-person HR team, I am only a 10-person company, we don't have the budget that these larger companies have. That is not the point. It's not the point about the actual tech sometimes. Before the tech comes the intention, before the tech comes the experience that you're trying to create. So that's where I would start. And then do your research. Look into companies that are within your budget. And maybe there are also like free things happening in Google Suite or in Microsoft 365 that you can incorporate and use. I know everyone's like really in love with Slack. Before Slack, we were using Rocket Chat. You know, Rocket Chat is a free app, and it's great for collaboration and communication between teams. And interestingly, once we were all working remotely, Rocket Chat kind of upped their game, and they became very similar. So if you're a company as a startup company with a lower budget and you're looking for something to keep people connected, take a look at that. I'm not at all sponsored. I have no relationship with people, but it was very helpful, right, to have those connections when we were immediately taken out of in an office space and thrown into working in our personal spaces.
Amazing. And I guess another question that I have for you is, we hear a lot about like Zoom fatigue. And I think as we switch to a remote world, a lot of companies, their quickest fix is just like, we'll set up more meetings for people. We'll do a virtual cooking class. We'll do a virtual happy hour. What are your like recommendations on other ways to get around this and kind of using technology, but not tiring people out a little bit from a lot of Zoom meetings?
What I want to say to that question is, tech is fantastic. I love tech, right? Love it. But tech isn't everything, you know. And if you're looking at the experience if you're recognizing that your employees are having an experience where they are having Zoom fatigue, where they are being fatigued by being on screen all the time, always being available, etc. Who knows what else is happening in their personal lives and what their challenges are? Make it okay for them to actually take a tech break. You know, one of the things that we are talking about and have actually recently done is that, you know, let's have internal meeting free Fridays, you know. If you can shorten the meeting, if it can be 30 minutes and not 45, make it 30. Don't book meetings back to back with your teammates. Recognize that maybe they do want to step up and get a coffee, get a glass of water before they jump into another meeting. And also recognizing that after every meeting, there's possibly also tasks that they have to take care of. So give them also the space, if it's not urgent, to actually have that meeting at a later time, and be cognizant of the fact that we're all virtually online and on at all times.
Amazing.
That experience they're creating for somebody else.
Absolutely. All right, so we are at time now. Andrea, this was amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for participating as well too. I hope you took a lot from this presentation. next up on the agenda, I believe, is a break session. So this will be an interactive wellness activity focusing on energizing your body by optimizing how you move and rest throughout the day. Also, please feel free to check out the virtual trade show throughout the day at any time, network using the network tables and the different networking function. But again, thank you so much, Andrea. This was amazing. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their sessions.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.